It was the breakup to end all breakups. Ugly crying on my kitchen floor. So what exactly does ugly crying, Target underwear, overpriced almond butter, and my kitchen floor have in common? Well, besides sounding like a complete hot mess, I know you were thinking that. It was the breakup of all breakups, in more ways than you could imagine. And from it, I would learn 3 rules, and I would take 3 massive actions that, of course, I'm gonna share with you today. But I'm not exactly somebody for just standing up here and like talking at you. I'd really like to have a conversation. So I'm going to be asking you questions along the way. I would love if you could raise your hand. Please also, I love the and an amen. I will take that, thank you. Sound good? Cool, I like the laughter, so let's start. Question and number 1, how many of you have been through a breakup? Raise your hands. Raise your hand, I heard a yeah, Thank you, lots of hands, congratulations, you are an adult, you are human, so you have 100% been through a breakup, right? And you have proven to yourself that breakups do not break you. Having said that, yes, having said that, can we all agree they suck? Like, yeah, looking back, you're like, oh, whew, bullet dodge there, so glad about that one. But in the moment, they're terrible, right? They're scary, and we, as humans, fundamentally run away from fear. That is like part of our job, right? Yeah. All right, next question, and for this one, I'd ask that you close your eyes. Just for a second, please, everybody. And for everybody at home, of course, I can't see you on that computer, but please close your eyes. And I want you to think about a dream. All right, I want you to go to what I like to call the dream attic. Close your eyes, and I really want you to think about a dream that maybe even you haven't said out loud to even yourself. Now, this dream probably has cobwebs on it. It's next to grandma's old pictures, right in the corner, in the very, very back of the dream attic. Now, maybe it's the business that you want to start. Maybe it's the baby that you want to have. Maybe it's the relationship you know needs to end. Or maybe it's the very TEDx talk you want to give. You want to be standing right here on this stage. Now, to know that you've hit the nail on the head with this dream, you're going to hear a voice immediately. And it's going to sound like this. It's too old, too late, too impossible, messy. Who do you think you are? A joy kill voice. If you hear that voice, you know you're on the right track. Now keep your eyes closed and hold that dream, that sacred, beautiful dream for one more second. And I want you to put a seed in your heart and hold it there. All right, now you can open your eyes. Now, what if I told you that that dream was not only possible, but it could happen starting right now, today? No, seriously, I mean, I promise you that this isn't like some motivational speech you hear at a high school gym. Seriously, I am standing here, living proof, thanks to the almond butter and the ugly crying, that in fact, yes, your dream can come true the moment you decide it. There's just this like one tiny little minor thing that you're gonna have to do. You're going to have to break your own heart to break through. I'm gonna let that sit with you for one more second, and I'm loving the energy, thank you so much. You're going to have to break your own heart to break through for the life that you just admitted to yourself, deep in your heart, you know is calling you forward. Today, I'm gonna talk about how to break up with yourself. Abs, seriously? Another breakup? You just said we don't like breakups, right? The whole like running from the pain thing is really not my jam. How many of you are thinking that right now? Yeah? Okay, or the rest of you can now keep your hands up because you're definitely thinking, hey, crazy lady, I got no idea what breaking up with myself would even look like. That's fine. I see a couple more hands. Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. Well, over the next, what is now 13 minutes or so, you and I are gonna go on a journey together of how to break up to break through. Yes, this is gonna be messy. Yes, it'll be painful. Yes, it'll be inconvenient. And yes, with all that is good and holy in this world, yes, it is worth it. Why? Because it is your life. It is your one precious, beautiful life, and you are worth breaking up to break through. Sound like a plan? You wanna know how to do it? Okay, here we go, I'm gonna prove it to you. All right, so the first part of knowing how to do this is realizing that there are all kinds of breakups, not just romantic ones. And my breakup journey started almost 10 years ago today, when my fate met his fist. It was my college sweetheart. It was all I'd ever known, right? I started dating the guy when I was like 19. And it's kind of just like the next step, because you date a guy for a long time, you move in together, you got the great job, and so marriage is just like the next thing, right? But he loved bottles of vodka more than himself. And that left no room to truly love me. Which brings me to rule number 1 of breaking up with yourself. Your heart always comes first. The only person you should be afraid of losing is yourself. And you cannot win battles, my love, with people who are at war with themselves. The night my face met his fist, I finally ran, barefoot like I am right now, right out that door. Now, I didn't before, because to be honest, it's a lot easier to be miserable than uncertain. Maybe some of you can admit that you at some point have been addicted to being in pain because it was more comfortable than the unknown. Yeah, but the moment that my face met his fist, I finally ran right out that door. And it started a journey, not of discovery, but recovery, of uncovering the life that was seated in my heart that was waiting for me. And it was a beautiful, full circle journey that ends right here with me barefoot giving you the TEDx talk of my life. Pretty incredible, right? Yeah. So for this next question, I want you to know that no one in the audience is going to be filmed for this. And of course, to all of you wonderful people, I can't see you at home, unfortunately. I won't get to meet a lot of you in person. So I want you to be really honest with yourself. It is a judge-free zone. How many of you have faced anxiety? Yeah, I'm talking about the kind of anxiety that maybe you can't go to work for the day. You cancel with your friends. You hang out underneath your comforter. I asked the question because I certainly have faced it. Or maybe there's like this low-grade depression, right, that just doesn't seem to want to go away. There's nothing really wrong. There's just something that's right. Yeah? Or maybe it's an autoimmune disease, breast cancer. These are all forms of breakup. It's just a matter of how you look at it. So at 27, just a few years later, I was on top of the world. That's my Oprah impression, by the way. On top of the world. And I was a TV news journalist, okay? I had my own TV show. I had won an Emmy by this point, and I lived in a very schwanky downtown apartment. Now, I tell you that, not because I'm trying to be boastful, but because for a woman that started out in this industry making $17,000 a year in Idaho Falls, Idaho, which is about the same size as Marshall, Texas, it was a really big deal that I was there, right? And it was great. There was just this one little tiny problem. I was miserable. The life that I had created was not in my greatest alignment anymore, and I knew it. But more importantly, I would find out my body knew it, right? Which brings me to rule number 2. You can lie to yourself, but your body will never lie to you. When it is time for you to evolve as a human, your body will tell you it is just a matter of if you listen. So at 27, I had a debilitating disease that left me crippled in fear and in my body. Can you picture Disney movies for me for a second, okay? Go back all the way in the time machine. I want you to think about like Snow White or Beauty and the Beast, okay? And there's this witch at the beginning of all the movies. She's hunched over like this, right? And it's always raining for some reason, and she's carrying like a rose or an apple, very creepy, and she's like, I've got a secret for you, right? Or maybe you think I look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, like, come here, my precious. Apparently they're the same voice, just go with it, it's fine. This is what I look like, okay? And it would take me half an hour every single morning to stand up straight. The arthritis was so bad at just 27. How many of you know the movie Memento? There's that dude, that wrote down all of his stuff on the Post-it notes because he couldn't remember anything. That was also me. right? I had such terrible brain fog and amnesia that I couldn't remember anything. I'd have to write it all down. There was a moment I looked at my own father's face and I couldn't tell you his first name. It had gotten that bad. And then there was the pain. The pain makes you feel like you're looking down the wrong end of a telescope and everything just starts to get really small and really dark and really hopeless. And the doctors can't tell you what's wrong. And it just keeps getting worse and more painful, and no one can help you, and they keep telling you you have some kind of cancer, but they just don't know. And where does that leave you? But with a body and a life clearly breaking up in front of you. So what did I do? Did I listen? Right? Did I step back for a second? Because your body will always tell you. You can tell by now I'm a little stubborn, so no. What did I do? I puked in between commercial breaks. I told absolutely no one in the industry that I was sick. I was gonna white knuckle my way to success. Sound like any other type A's in the room? Yeah, just a few? Good, great, that was me too, yeah. And this went on for not 1, not 2, but 5 years, until finally I got the diagnosis. Lyme disease, and a host of other co-infections by that point. My body had been trying to tell me all along, my dear sweet Abbey, this just isn't working anymore. You can lie to yourself, but your body will never lie to you. It's just a matter of if you listen. It took me 5 more long, beautiful, painful years to finally call my body safe, to finally feel at home in my own skin, to finally listen to my life evolving in my favor. Now you're probably thinking by this point, hey Abs, loving the story so far. It's real great, but I'm kind of wondering about the Target underwear and the ugly crying. I'll get to it, my friends, I promise. But the plot, the plot thickens, because I would be blessed with one more massive breakup, one that thousands of American women were facing at the exact same time. I broke up with my industry. Now, a lot of us know what an industry breakup looks like. It's called 2008. Remember that little thing? Yeah, all of a sudden, the job that you had, the industry that you had just doesn't exist anymore. Well, all of a sudden, I'm on news stories and people are driving by and they're screaming out their car window, fake news. And all of a sudden, we as humanity were debating facts. Very odd. You have to know that for someone who'd been an investigative journalist for more than 10 years, I was a welcome friend. Everyone was so excited to see me, right? I was always on their side. And then there was this man running for president, openly talking about groping women, something I was all too familiar with. I can't tell you how many times I've been groped on stories. That feels good to say out loud. I can't tell you how many times I've been groped on stories from the Capitol to Super Bowl parties and nothing ever changed. There was one time I was covering a Super Bowl celebration. The Seahawks had just won their very first Super Bowl. The crowd was going wild. They ran out into the streets. I'm there. I'm running. I'm a part of it. I'm right in the middle. I go live. The entire thing is so much fun. And there's a group of men that come up right after my live shot. And they grope me here. And they grope me here. And they pull me down the street like a piece of meat. And no one stops them. And my photographer saved me, and I called the newsroom and I told them what happened, and they said, I'm sorry. And in the same breath, are you still going live tonight? Nothing ever changed. Now I was supposed to keep a straight face and my mouth shut? No. It wasn't an industry I recognized anymore, and the breakup was extremely painful. I was covering stories about how city employees were suing because of the Me Too movement, and they described the harassment that they were facing. And that night, I came home and I put the pieces together and it all just kind of clicked. Sometimes you have to have rage to have courage. As women, we're not encouraged to be angry, let alone the word rage, but the word rage is literally in the word courage. Think about that, yeah. Right then and there, I found myself saying for the first time, screw this, me too. In my opinion, I had faced harassment for years, so much so that it was so normal, I didn't even really notice it. I once got called into the newsroom, and my boss described in great detail the size of my butt and what other outfits might be better suited for a body of my size. I was like this, by the way. I went to grab a handful of almonds once, and a TV exec said, "One of us is on TV." So I put the almonds down, and he said, "Good girl." Ladies, this world wants us to stay small in the size of our bodies and in our dreams and in our voice. But we don't do that anymore, do we? We don't play small anymore, do we? Not today, not anymore. That day, I finally had enough. So right there on the kitchen floor, I told you that breakups, they are messy and they are painful, but they are worth it. Why? Because it is your one precious, beautiful life. Right there on the kitchen floor, I said I had enough. The ugly crying, the almond butter. By the way, I should have started with, "Hi, I'm Abby, and I'm an almond butter addict." I think that when you are emotionally eating, the serving size should be a pint or the entire container, right? And that whatever can fit on the spoon, that's the serving size when you're going through it, right? Just going to town. I thought that somehow like the salty tears mixed with the almond butter was weirdly soothing. And then if I dropped anything, hey, I wasn't wearing any pants, right? It was perfect. It was fantastic. So right then and there, I finally had the guts to not only break up with my industry, right then and there, I broke up with myself. Right then and there, I broke up with myself, which brings me to rule number 3. Drop what you know, be who you are. Drop what you know, what you think is going to make you happy, what you think you should do in this life, what you are so certain you are as a human being. Drop what you know, all the no's, all the rejections, all the times you were told you couldn't do the thing you just admitted in your heart is still calling you forward. Drop those no's. You think I'm standing on this lovely red circle, but in fact, I am standing on a pile of no's that have given me an incredible perspective to finally show to you how to break up to break through. So how do you do this for yourself, right? Step number 1, a really brave question. Ask not what weighs on your heart, but what is in my heart. What does it want to give? A hint has to do with love. Has to do with some kind of love. Step number 2, what is one thing, a talent, a person that you can break up with today, right now, that's going to get you closer to that dream? Step number 3, what is one talent about yourself, one thing that you can love more that's going to get you closer to that dream? Think about that for one more second. Yes, this is messy. Yes, it is painful. And yes, it is worthy because, yes, it is your life. This is how to break up with yourself, and you are capable of breaking up to break through. Won't you join me? Thank you.